this Riders on the Storm is, just with the sound effects.
Think back to when the first time it was when you heard Riders on the Storm, and the way Jim Morrison was able to elicit fear.
A masterpiece of Jim's songwriting as far as his lyrics go and storytelling.
Riders on the Storm is another mini masterpiece, and one of the first times where they overdubbed Jim's vocals twice, singing the exact same line, but in a much lower tone, which gives it that eerie quality of the way the song starts out.
Lyrically, there's a killer on the road, his brain is squirming like a toad. You really felt some sort of looming, ominous figure that's going to come get you. It was like the boogeyman kind of equivalent. And that late into the Doors' career, when Jim had been through so much, he was still a great actor. He could convey those lyrics with great authenticity and actually set a mood that was kind of scary and dark and dangerous.
Just a song that I think really came together well. I'm sure they stood around and sort of scratched their own heads thinking, wow, did we just put this together? This is pretty cool. Because that's just a quintessential moment for the Doors.
Riders has this mood. It originally came from us jamming on this Ghost Riders in the Sky.
That old cowpoke went riding out one dark and windy day. Upon a ridge he rested as he went along his way.
We got to put some jazz to it, make it dark. And sure enough, this is what happened. Jerry Chef says, "What's the bass line?" I said, "Like simple. E minor, A major." He said, "Oh man, that's impossible." I said, "What, for you?"
And here's Jerry Chef by himself. And he's basically playing what Ray would have played on his left hand if he was playing a piano bass, but with some latitude, because what Ray could play with his left hand couldn't always translate into a bass. So like those little slides. And here's Ray's solo. You can hear it. He was taken direct, which means he wasn't playing through an amplifier, and it was just direct injection into the console.
It was an album that should have ended the Doors on an anticlimactic note in a sense, but it doesn't. It's as thrilling as the debut in many respects, and I think that there's a wonderful symmetry between the excitement that you experienced upon first hearing that Doors album and how original it was, and this final album, which is unlike any final album I've ever heard from any other band in a sense. It really is for a group that have done half a dozen albums in such a short period to go out on such a high. You'd have expected them to go out with another Soft Parade where it's just diffusion, and you got Robbie, you do a song, Jim, you do a song. Oh, I can't be bothered. It's the end of the thing anyway. But it's not. I mean, it sounds like they could have gone on and done another 6 albums. So to me, it's a wonderful epitaph to the Doors' career.
And as with many of the Doors records, the final track was an epic in which Morrison's poetic ambitions were free to flourish. The frontman and lyricist could not have wished for a more fitting swan song than Riders on the Storm.
I think it's unintentional, but I think L.A. Woman, the album, it is kind of a fitting final statement from the Doors. It's kind of sad to reflect upon it now because it wasn't known at the time they were recording that Jim Morrison was going to die, and although the other Doors were a little worried that maybe he'd be leaving the band or at least take an extended absence or maybe even go to jail, they weren't thinking that it was the end of the line. It has that unintentional Tombstone quality, though, when it stops, when the last track is Riders on the Storm, because it really sounds with a double-track vocal, which was a great production idea. One line is sung or crooned and one is whispered. It almost sounds as though Jim Morrison really has one foot in the next life, because one is him singing in his relatively normal voice, and the other, it sounds like he's whispering beyond the grave. It's very evocative of the way that he did happen to die, and the way he lived his life, and the way that his observations continue to echo. Now it's more than 35 years later.
Riders on the storm, riders on the storm. Into this house we're born, into this world we're thrown. Like a dog without a bone, an actor out alone. Riders on the storm. There's a killer on the road. His brain is squirming like a toad. Take a long holiday. Let your children play. If you give this man a ride, sweet family will die. Killer on the road. Yeah. Girl, you gotta love your man. Girl, you gotta love your man. Take him by the hand. Make him understand. The world on you depends. Our life will never end. Gotta love your man. Riders on the storm, riders on the storm. Into this house we're born, into this world we're thrown, like a dog without a bone, an actor out on loan. Riders on the storm.
Album, which I think he thought would be his last.
He said, I'm going to Paris. And we said, what? You're not finished yet, man. We're not finished with the record. We haven't mixed all the songs. He said, everything is fine, man. I've done all my vocals. You guys are doing fine. It's sounding great. I'm going to go to Paris with Pam.
I did not really think, especially after I said goodbye to Jim, that he would ever come back as a member of any band.
There's no question Jim announced he was resigning. He was going to be a writer. And it wasn't, I'll never talk to you again. It wasn't hostile. It was, this is what I'm going to go do with my life. And we'll see what happens.
You know, obviously he was kind of messed up, and we said, hey, man, great, you know, do what you have to do. And, you know, when you come back, we'll worry about this, you know. So, I mean, it sounded like a good idea to us. Fortunately, it didn't turn out that way.
The loneliness that song conjures up about how we are here in this torment that we call the world, trying to keep our heads above the fray, above the surf, above the storm.
That whisper voice that's just singing, Riders on the Storm. You can hear that in the last two Riders on the Storm. That's Jim's spirit whispering to us from the ether, whispering to us from the beyond.